The response to the happiness class has been really incredible. We put the class up a while before the pandemic, but just during lockdown, over 3 million people signed up for the class. And the response has just been incredible. So many people will write me emails, send me thank you cards, just saying the class has really changed their life. And I think this sort of fits with what the science shows. If you really prioritize these positive habits, if you engage with the strategies that really work, your well-being will really go up, even if it's a difficult time. I think the biggest misconception about controlling your well-being is that it's possible. We often think like, I'm just like naturally not a happy person. Or we think, my circumstances are just not really good right now. I feel kind of trapped. There's nothing I can do. But the research really shows that there's a ton you can do. Most of our happiness really comes from our habits and our behaviors. Most of our happiness really comes from our mindsets. And these are things that are completely under your control. With the right sorts of strategies. Even if you feel like you're in a rut, even if you're having a tough time, you can feel better. Yeah, one of the things we've learned about how we can sort of change our minds to be happier is that we need to take a little bit more time for gratitude. It can sound a little cheesy, it can sound like grandmotherly advice, but the research really shows that the simple act of taking some time to count your blessings, to think about what's good in life, can actually make you improve your well-being in as little as 2 weeks. Just the simple act of thinking about things that you're grateful for. There's other research showing the power of social connection. Every available study of happy people suggests that happy people are more social. They spend more time with friends and family members. They just are around other people more often. And so the research really suggests that if you want to be happier, you need to take time to be a little bit more social. A final thing we know from the research is that, the healthy habits, things like exercise and sleep, are super important. We know exercise is good for our physical health, but we forget how powerfully good it can be for our mental health. Same thing with sleep. The simple act of getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night can be incredibly important for improving your mental health. And so those are just simple tips. It's the kind of thing we sort of know, but we tend not to put it into practice. And so I think hearing about the research can really help us do a little bit better.
So the brain is very plastic, meaning that it's always changing. Sometimes people refer to this as neuroplasticity. We're always changing, right? We're always having new thoughts, new memories, new experiences. And as a result, our brain is always changing. It's very malleable, like plastic. So neuroplasticity is a very general term. A more specific term is neurogenesis. And genesis, of course, refers to the creation of something, and neurogenesis refers to the creation of neurons. For most of history, we thought that the brain didn't make any more of these new cells. That when you were born, you were pretty much got all the neurons you were ever going to have. Then about 20 years ago or so, it was discovered that these cells are created in the adult brain in limited regions and limited numbers. But it was still, quite a surprising discovery. Many of these new cells are generated in a part of the brain known as the hippocampus, which is a part of our brain we use to learn. It's a very dynamic place because it's taking in everything that's happening now, and then it's associating our present experience with things that happened in the past and trying to predict the future. Other labs had shown that these cells could be made more plentiful with exercise, and in particular aerobic exercise, which is exercise that requires oxygen. Aerobic exercise means that the heart is beating fast enough that oxygen is being delivered many places, but in particular to the brain.
So we've documented a variety of benefits for mental and physical health in multiple populations, as Tracy mentioned. Some of those are less anxiety, less depression, less trauma, greater self-esteem, and greater quality of life. And we've also documented that there's more oxygen getting to the body, particularly during exercise, as a measure of cardiovascular fitness after doing our program. We've also documented more synchronized brain activity, which is important for cognition. And more recently, we've also documented increased learning and memory after doing 6 weeks of our program.
One of the biggest surprises when you look at the happiness research is how bad our minds are at achieving happiness on their own, right? There seems to be this big disconnect between what we think is going to make us happy, which is often changing our circumstances or getting more money or something like that, and what really makes us happy, which is often these really simple practices, becoming more present, becoming more social, taking time to experience gratitude. Happiness is a lot simpler than our minds often think, and that means it's much more within reach too.